Welcome back to Hasan Narrates. Tonight's story begins with a mystery that terrified an entire community. A young woman leaves work. She starts driving home. She is only minutes away from her house. Then she disappears. For years, nobody knows what happened. Let's begin. Sarah's last drive home. On a cold autumn evening 2004, Sarah Marshall finished her shift at a local office. She was 26 years old, friendly, hardworking, and looking forward to spending the weekend with her family. Nothing seemed unusual. She said goodbye to her co workers, got into the car, and began the short drive home. It should have taken less than 15 minutes, but she never arrived. When Sarah's mother called later that evening, there was no answer. That was unusual. Sarah almost always picked up her phone. Her family assumed she was busy. Maybe she had stopped for groceries. Maybe she was visiting a friend. But as the hours passed, concern began to grow. The next morning, Sarah still had not returned home. Her phone went straight to voicemail. No messages, no activity, no sign of her anywhere. Her family contacted the police. A missing person investigation began immediately. At first, detectives believed Sarah might have left voluntarily. Adults sometimes disappeared for personal reasons. It happens, but the evidence quickly suggested something far more troubling. Sarah had left behind her bank cards, her apartment keys, important personal belongings, and she had future plans scheduled for the following week. Nothing indicates she intended to vanish. Search teams spread across the sea. Volunteers joined the effort. Posters appeared on the telephone poles and shop windows. Everyone asked the same question: where was Sarah? 3 days later, police discovered her car. It was parked on a quiet road several miles from her normal route home. The vehicle was locked. There was no sign of crash, no obvious evidence of struggle. Yet something felt wrong, very wrong. Investigators examined the car carefully. Inside, they found Sarah's handbag, her wallet, and her phone. Why would someone abandon all those things? Most people would not. The discovery changed the investigation completely. Police now believes Sarah was the victim of a crime. The search intensified. The detectives interviewed friends, co workers, neighbors, former classmates, anyone who might know something. One name kept appearing, a name named David Carter. David had briefly dated Sarah several months earlier. The relationship had not lasted long. Friends described David as controlling and jealous. Sarah had ended the relationship. David reportedly did not take it well. When detectives interviewed him, he appeared calm. Too calm, some officers later said. He denied involvement, claimed he had not spoken to Sarah in weeks. At first, there was little evidence connecting to him to disappearance, so police continued looking elsewhere. Weeks turned into months. The case grew older. News coverage slowly faded, but Sarah's family refused to give up. Even birthday, every holiday, every year, they continued searching for answers. Then, nearly 2 years later, investigators received a phone call, an anonymous tip. The caller claimed police should examine an abandoned cabin deep in the woods outside town. The information was specific, too specific to ignore. The detectives obtained a warrant and searched the property. Inside the cabin, they found old belongings, clothing, personal items, and something else, evidence connecting to the local to David Carter. Suddenly, the case exploded back to life. Police re interviewed witnesses. This time, several people revealed information they had never shared before. One witness claimed David had been seen following Sarah's car weeks before she disappeared. Another recalled hearing him make angry comments after breakup. Individually, these details seemed small. Together, they painted a disturbing picture. Investigators confronted David again. This time, the evidence was much stronger. His story began to change. Small details no longer matched previous statements. The contradictions kept growing. Eventually, after hours of questioning, David admitted he had met Sarah on the night she disappeared. But he claimed it was an accident. He claimed things go out of control. He claimed he never intended for anyone to get hurt. For Sarah's family, the confession brought mixed emotions: relief, anger, heartbreak. For years, they had wondered what happened. Now they finally knew. But the truth was devastating. The trial attracted enormous attention. Prosecutors presented evidence showing a pattern of obsession and control. Witnesses testified. Investigators explained the timeline, and the jurors listened carefully. After several days of deliberation, the verdict was returned: guilty. David Carter was sentenced to life in prison. For many people, that would have been the end of the story, but Sarah's family viewed things differently. Justice has been served, yet a part of their lives could never be repaired: a daughter, a sister, a friend, gone forever. Today, Sarah's story is remembered as a reminder of how quickly ordinary days can become extraordinary tragedies. One moment she was driving home from work, thinking about tomorrow, thinking about the weekend, thinking about life. The next moment, everything changed. And perhaps that is what makes stories like this so haunting. Not because they begin with danger, but because they begin with something completely ordinary: a drive home, a familiar road, a normal evening, the kind of evening any of us might experience. If you enjoyed today's story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you for spending a few minutes with Hasan Narrates. And remember, sometimes the most frightening mysteries begin on the most ordinary days. Until next time, goodbye.